Tales from the Midnight Road, 6 terrifying late-night drive horror.
The road stretched out before me, a thin ribbon of asphalt vanishing into the abyss of the night. The dashboard clock read 2:47 a.m., and the world was cloaked in an eerie stillness. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel, my knuckles white against the soft glow of the dashboard lights. The only sounds were the distant hum of the engine and the soft pitter-patter of raindrops on the windshield. I'd always been told to avoid driving at night, especially in unfamiliar places, but my stubbornness had gotten the best of me. I was supposed to be home hours ago, but a wrong turn had led me onto this desolate stretch of road. The GPS signal was weak, and the navigation screen flickered intermittently, leaving me in a perpetual state of uncertainty. As I continued driving, a heavy fog began to creep in, shrouding the road in a ghostly haze. I squinted, trying to make out any landmarks, but all I could see were the dim outlines of trees, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers.
My heart pounded in my chest, a sense of foreboding settling over me like a second skin. I glanced at the fuel gauge and felt a wave of panic. The needle hovered perilously close to empty. The last gas station I'd passed had been miles ago, and the thought of being stranded out here in the darkness sent a shiver down my spine. Just as the panic threatened to overwhelm me, a faint glow appeared in the distance. My heart skipped a beat as I approached what looked like an old, dilapidated gas station. The flickering fluorescent lights cast eerie shadows on the cracked pavement. With a mix of relief and trepidation, I pulled up to the pump. I stepped out of the car, the rain chilling me to the bone. The air was thick with a musty scent, and the station seemed frozen in time. The windows were dirty, and the neon sign above the entrance buzzed intermittently, casting an unsettling red glow.
I hesitated before entering, a sense of unease gnawing at me. Inside, the air was heavy with silence, broken only by the soft creaking of the floorboards beneath my feet. The shelves were sparsely stocked with dusty, expired items, and a layer of grime covered everything. At the counter, an old man stood hunched over, his back to me. "Excuse me," I called out, my voice barely more than a whisper. He turned slowly, revealing a weathered face with deep lines etched by time. His eyes were clouded with a distant sadness as he regarded me. "Long way from home, ain't you?" His voice was a raspy whisper, and his gaze seemed to pierce through me. "You're lucky you found this place, stranger. Not many do." I forced a smile, the unease in my gut growing stronger. "Yeah, lucky indeed. Can I get some gas?" The old man nodded and began to shuffle toward the door, his movements slow and deliberate. I watched as he stepped outside, feeling a chill creep up my spine. Something wasn't right.
Just as I was about to follow, I heard a faint whisper from one of the dark corners of the room. My heart raced as I strained to listen. The whisper grew louder, an unintelligible murmur that seemed to come from all directions at once. "Leave," it hissed, a cold wind rushing through the room. "Leave now!" My breath caught in my throat and I stumbled backward, tripping over a fallen shelf. The lights flickered wildly, casting dancing shadows that seemed to converge around me. Panic consumed me and I scrambled to my feet, desperate to escape. As I burst out of the station, the rain had turned into a torrential downpour. I sprinted toward my car, my heart pounding in my ears. The old man was nowhere in sight, and the gas station seemed to loom menacingly against the backdrop of the night. I jumped into the car and slammed the door shut. The engine roared to life, and I peeled out of the parking lot, the sound of my own ragged breathing filling the air.
I glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see something lurking in the darkness behind me. For hours I drove, the rain relentlessly pounding against the windshield. The roads twisted and turned, and the landscape seemed to blur into a nightmarish haze. Eventually, the first light of dawn began to break through the clouds, and I realized that I had no idea where I was. Exhausted and terrified, I pulled over to the side of the road. My hands were still trembling as I reached for my phone, praying for a signal. As the screen flickered to life, a notification appeared. "Welcome to unknown location." My heart sank. I was in a place I'd never heard of, miles away from where I'd started. The events of the night replayed in my mind, the gas station, the old man, and the chilling whispers. I knew I had to get out of there, but the road ahead was as uncertain as the one I'd left behind.
As I continued to drive, the fear lingered.
a constant presence that whispered in the wind and danced in the shadows. The memory of that night will forever haunt me, a reminder that some roads are better left untraveled, and that darkness can swallow you whole, leaving you forever lost in its depths. That is the end of my story.